If you clicked on this video, chances are you're worried about your cholesterol, specifically your LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol. You're not alone. And here's some good news. With the right dietary changes, you can lower your LDL cholesterol naturally, in some cases by up to 30%. Today, we will walk through 8 proven strategies backed by science that can help bring your LDL down, naturally and sustainably. Understanding fats, the good, the bad, and the confusing. Let's clear up the confusion around dietary fats. We've all heard different takes on fats from social media, but how do they really affect your LDL cholesterol? Here's a quick refresher. Trans fats, once found in hydrogenated oils, are so harmful they've been banned in many countries. Saturated fats are in foods like butter, coconut oil, and ice cream. Monounsaturated fats, MUFAs, are in olive oil, avocados, and almonds. Polyunsaturated fats, PUFAs, include omega-3s and 6s. Think salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds. Now, studies clearly show cutting saturated fats lowers LDL cholesterol. If you eliminate just 100 calories of saturated fat, about what you'd get in one honey cruller donut, your LDL can drop by 6.5 to 10.5 points. The best results come when you replace those saturated fats with PUFAs, MUFAs, and even some carbs can help too. What doesn't help? Swapping butter for gummy bears. Sure, they're cholesterol-free, but they won't protect your heart. In fact, weight gain, metabolic syndrome, and diabetes, often fueled by ultra-processed foods, are all linked to high LDL. As for me, I realized I wasn't getting enough PUFAs either, and tossing sunflower seeds into our salads. It's simple stuff, but it made a difference. Also, don't forget about sneaky sources of saturated fat, like that large iced cappuccino from Tim Hortons. Believe it or not, it can have 21 grams of saturated fat. That's like drinking the fat from 16 slices of bacon. And coconut oil? Despite the health claims, it has more saturated fat than butter, gram for gram. Be cautious with plant-based desserts and snacks that contain it. Bottom line, fat isn't the enemy, but saturated fat is when it comes to LDL. Just don't replace it with sugar or junk. How you brew coffee matters. Here's a surprising one. Your coffee prep method can impact your cholesterol. Coffee contains a compound called Phytosterols, which interferes with your liver's ability to remove LDL. And if your coffee doesn't pass through a paper filter, that Phytosterol stays in your drink. The worst offender? Boiled coffee, like Turkish coffee. Next is espresso and French press. But if you use a paper filter, you're in the clear. And studies show this simple switch can lower your LDL by up to 15 points. So yes, how you brew your morning cup can impact your heart health. What about eggs and dietary cholesterol? Now, let's talk about eggs. One of the most hotly debated foods online. Is dietary cholesterol harmful? Some say yes, others say it doesn't matter. The truth? It depends on your genetics. On average, people absorb about 50% of the cholesterol they eat. Some absorb up to 90%, others almost none. And there's no simple test to find out which group you're in. Most studies show that 1 egg a day may raise your LDL by just 5 points. That's minor. And if you're choosing a boiled egg over a donut or a sugary drink, it's probably a net win. The American Heart Association says 1 egg yolk a day is fine for most healthy individuals. But if you're trying to aggressively lower LDL, it's reasonable to cut back. Again, just don't replace it with junk food. Also remember, cholesterol-free doesn't mean heart healthy. Always check the saturated fat content. Soluble fiber, nature's cholesterol sponge. Next up, soluble fiber, your gut's secret weapon. Soluble fiber dissolves in water to form a thick gel. You can see this in action when you soak chia seeds. That gel traps cholesterol in your digestive system and helps flush it out before it's reabsorbed. For every 1 gram of soluble fiber, your LDL can drop by around 2 points. You'll find it in oats, barley, beans, and lentils, chia seeds, fruits, and veggies. Want to boost your intake? Add a psyllium supplement like Metamucil. Studies show that taking 1 tablespoon tablespoon twice daily can lower LDL by 13 points. I personally prefer the powder over gummies or pills, but find what works best for you. Phytosterols, plant-based cholesterol. Fighters Phytosterols, or plant sterols and stanols, block cholesterol absorption in your gut. At 2 grams per day, they can reduce LDL by 5 to 10%. But here's the catch. It's hard to get that much from food alone. Most people need fortified foods or supplements. Be cautious though. Some people hyperabsorb sterols, and in rare cases, this can increase cardiovascular risk. I'm lukewarm on these supplements, but most medical guidelines still list them as effective. Swap animal proteins for plant-based ones. Another powerful change: replace animal proteins with plant-based options. Nuts, seeds, legumes. A review of 100+ studies showed that this swap can drop LDL by about 6 points. You also get the bonus of healthy fats, fiber, and zero cholesterol. Can exercise lower LDL? We all know exercise is great, but what about LDL? It turns out exercise doesn't dramatically lower LDL on its own. However, a meta-analysis found cardio 4 times per week can reduce LDL by 5 to 6 points. Adding 2 weight training sessions can lead to an 11-point drop. Even if it doesn't drastically change your LDL, exercise is crucial for your heart and overall health. So, yes, it's worth it. Weight loss, small loss, big impact. Now let's talk about weight loss, which might sound like an obvious strategy, but many people don't realize just how powerful and directly impactful it is for lowering LDL cholesterol. Here's what the science says. A large meta-analysis of long-term studies found that for every 1 kilogram, about 2.2 pounds, of weight you lose and keep off for at least 12 months, your LDL levels can drop by approximately 1.3 points. That means if you lose 10 kilograms, around 22 pounds, and maintain it, you could lower your LDL by more than 13 points. That's not a small change. It's significant enough to help reduce your overall cardiovascular risk, especially if your starting LDL is high. But here's what's even more encouraging. You don't need to aim for extreme, unsustainable weight loss. Studies show that even a modest weight reduction of 5 to 10% of your body weight can significantly improve your LDL, triglycerides, blood sugar, and blood pressure. And you don't have to follow an extreme or trendy diet to do it. People who succeed long-term usually focus on sustainable eating patterns, like the Mediterranean or DASH diets we discussed earlier, and combine it with consistent physical activity, stress management, and good sleep. Here's a personal example from my practice. One of my patients had struggled with cholesterol and weight for years. He didn't want medications yet, so we started with small steps: walking daily, replacing soda with water, and swapping out late-night snacks for fruit and nuts. In a year, he lost 15 pounds and his LDL dropped by over 20 points. No crash diet, no gimmicks, just real, steady changes. So if you're carrying extra weight and trying to lower your cholesterol, don't overlook the power of weight loss. Start small, be kind to yourself, and stay consistent. Focus on patterns, not perfection. Here's the truth: few of us can micromanage every nutrient every day. That's why major guidelines now recommend focusing on overall eating patterns rather than individual fats or fibers. Diets that consistently lower LDL and heart disease risk include Mediterranean diet, DASH diet, plant-based diets. They all prioritize whole fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and they all limit saturated fats, sugars, and ultra-processed foods. What to avoid? Dangerous supplements. 2 cholesterol-lowering remedies I don't recommend. 1. Red yeast rice. It contains the same active ingredient as statins, monacolin K, but it's unregulated and often contaminated with citrinin, a toxin that can cause kidney failure. In 2023, over 500 people in Japan were hospitalized after taking red yeast rice, and dozens died. If you're essentially taking a statin, go with the prescription version. It's cleaner, safer, and properly dosed. 2. Green tea extract in high doses. While it may reduce reduce LDL. Catechins in green tea extract have been linked to liver damage, even at standard doses. Skip the pills, but feel free to enjoy a regular cup of green tea. Even if your LDL doesn't drop as much as you'd hoped, every change you make benefits your overall health, not just your cholesterol. Remember, this isn't all or nothing. It's about building long-term habits that support your heart for years to come. And if you're interested in lowering your blood pressure naturally, check out our next video. Until then, take care and be kind to your heart.